Actually, the governor of West Virginia at the time said that he was furious about Wrong Turn and that it was, not an accurate depiction.
Rob Schmidt is a writer, director, film teacher, and true crime junkie, most notable for giving us the Wrong Turn franchise. But it's also worth noting that he's considered a master of horror, an honor bestowed upon him for participating in Mick Garris's television series of the same name. Now, he sits down to talk horror with your host, What's up, horror fam? Steven, AKA Bojangles here, and come closer, my friends. I have something scary to tell you. Today, Anna and I are sitting down with director Rob Schmidt, and I am super excited. Being a West Virginia boy, baby, we are going to explore all of the gory deets from the Wrong Turn franchise and a whole lot more. So forget the tea, we're spilling the guts on this one. Sit back and enjoy, horror fam. All right, I'm here with Rob Schmidt, and I would like to thank you for being willing to sit down and talk some horror with us today.
Sure, happily. Yeah, I'm always happy to do that.
That's awesome, man. You know, we are in West Virginia. I'm rocking the West Virginia hat right now. So yeah, it is an honor, and I can't wait to talk about Wrong Turn with you. You know, I'll temper myself a little bit, you know.
There's so much more to talk to you about, so we won't just stay on that, but we are really excited. So thank you very much for being here. Yeah.
I hope Toronto, Canada looked like West Virginia in the movie.
Nah.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. We'll definitely get into
it. Probably fooled everyone else though, so it's okay.
Oh, I guarantee it. Now, you were born in Pennsylvania, which does have a vibrant film community. Were you able to get your start there?
No, I wasn't. And actually, I was in New York, and then and I had my dad's farm in Western Pennsylvania in Butler County, which is now infamous from that. I think maybe Trump got his ear shot there.
Okay.
And I sold the farm for $50,000, and I used it to go to film school in LA.
Wow.
So in a way, I got my start in Pennsylvania, but not the way you're asking.
Right, Pennsylvania gave you your start.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So you made a big move. You were totally committed on film, right? Like that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because, I teach sometimes too, and you get all sorts of different people that get into film schools, and some of them they're in school because they think they're going to make money that way, which is not a reason to go to film school, but I was probably stupidly fully committed to a life in film, so, and it worked out, but it was like it was not a good plan, I went to AFI, American Film Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they cut 75% of students after the first year, and
wow.
And I was just like, I'll just go, and it'll probably work out. Like I didn't really think beyond that. So someone was watching my back, I guess.
Absolutely. And you do have to, there has to be that element though of believing in yourself to the point of going for something that is, out of most people's reach, right? Like if you don't believe you can make it happen, you won't.
Yeah, there's this really cool, Robert De Niro did the graduation speech. It was a while ago, but at NYU grad at Tisch. Did you guys ever see that speech?
I think I did.
I'm not sure if I did or not.
I'm really into graduation speeches.
Usually they're real. This one was really good. It's called You're Fucked. And it's just about how you don't get into film because you want to, you get into film because you have to. And, like deciding to have a life in film means you're willing to like do dishes, like work as a dishwasher. You're willing to do all these, make coffee for people that don't like you, all this stuff that, is brutal and soul crushing. And you just do it because you have to do it, because if you just want to do it, you're not going to stick with it.
Would you say that, I mean, because you have students now, so you're teaching film, right?
Not right now, but I have recently. Yeah.
Would you say they have an easier time now than you had when you started? I mean, because everybody's walking around, they have a camera in their pocket now. They don't have to cut actual film. They can just do it on the computer or even an iPad.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know that it's easier. It's just different. Like when I went to school, like the thing, the budgets for it was when everyone hated record labels and like A&R people, and they thought like the record labels were evil, and they had like $100,000, $200,000 budgets for music videos, and like a lot of my friends' bands, they didn't get to make 2 albums, but they got to make 1 album, because of the record label and the A&R people. And then, so when I was coming up, we made music videos, and you'd do a couple of music videos like as a crew member, and that would pay your rent for a month, and I know, yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. Yeah. And I know, before my generation, like, Coppola's generation and all that, I mean, I don't think this is a secret. They worked on pornos, and pornos were where people like got started because like there were a lot of them, and they could get paid and do film work, and it's always been like that, like where there's been like entree. I think I want to say after music videos, like karaoke became a thing, and people were like making karaoke's. And so the thing that's happening now, it's awesome that like a friend of mine wanted to experiment with filmmaking. This is just a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, "What camera should I buy? I'll spend $1,000."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Use your phone. Just use your phone." And that's great. That's amazing. That's amazing. But it's not. I don't think it's any easier to like have a life in film. You still have to do all the stuff, and the ideas aren't any easier to come by. Like, I've been working on a project, and I decided this time that I would start to outline it with AI,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do that. You can do that, and you can have it write a script, but it won't be a good script. And like what it'll do is the parts that are uninteresting and have been in other movies, it will put down in your script. And the parts, yeah, right, like, yeah. So it looks like a script. You can be like, hey, here's a script. It's 95 pages, but it doesn't have anything good in it,
Right.
and all the things that are interesting and unusual are the parts that you have to put in yourself. So, I mean, maybe it'll get better, but at this point, I think it takes just as much work to get started as a filmmaker as it ever did. It's just different. Like when I was a film student, we shot on 16 millimeter, and I want to say it was like 50 cents a foot, and a foot was a second and a half of film, So, yeah. So you had to really, really decide what you wanted to film, You had to really, really like, and it was painful. Like things would happen, someone would make a mistake, and it would be like, that was $50, which is what I made this week, at my like work study job. And and that's not happening. And there were things that were good about that, like having to think a lot about your shot was a good thing, but there were also things that were terrible about it, like you didn't get to shoot for hours and hours, and sort through your footage. So
Yes.
it's just different. It's not easier or harder. Easier or harder.
Do you think that young people coming into film right now speaking of AI, do you think they have any reason for concern about whether or not they're going to be able to work in filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on, like if I wanted to be a gaffer, I
Hmm.
would be very worried about my future, because there probably are not going to be people on set that are designing the lighting,
Mm,
you know, or if they are, it's going to be by making prompts, text prompts to a computer with like a flat image that's maybe even just the actors against like a green screen. They don't even use blue screen anymore. Um, so there are trades that will disappear, and
hmm.
that's heartbreaking. A friend of mine uh, said AI will be a bloodbath for technicians.
Mm,
Like
Hmm.
all these trades that people spent years mastering, a lot of them are just not going to be relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But it's always been like that. Like I think now, like I spent a lot of time. I came up through camera department, and I spent a lot of time figuring out the film stocks back in the day, because I'm an old man. The film stocks back in the day had like at best 2 stops over and like 3 stops under exposure.
hmm.
And now like a modern digital camera has, I don't know, like 6 or 7 stops over and 15 stops under. And it has more ability to see than our eyes do. And it used to be that a lot of your training in camera and lighting departments was figuring out how to translate human vision to film stock that could only see a tiny bit of what our eyes could see. And that took years. It took years to figure that out. The people that hold the like glass up, the tinted glass, like
Hmm.
Yeah.
that was to help estimate what it would look like on film. You don't see people doing that anymore,
Yeah, now that's not necessary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird how quickly that technology advanced, because in the early 2000s, nobody really wanted to shoot on digital because it would blow out the whites, and the
Yeah,
darks were
yeah.
just like this grainy pit of despair. And, in 10 years, man, I mean, you couldn't differentiate digital from film now. I mean, it would take a really trained eye to do that, I think.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that, like, I think if you really wanted, you could make digital look exactly like film. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I have a funny story about like the start of digital is I did this pilot actually that I really liked. It was called American Town. It was sort of like a David Lynchy, like creepy soap opera, and
Okay.
it was a pilot for no one's ever seen it. I don't think like I have a VHS copy of it somewhere that I've been
Hmm.
meaning to, like, don't tell Fox this, but I've been meaning to digitize and post. I just haven't gotten around to it. But and who was in it? Zach, who is Spock, was in it, and a bunch
Okay.
of people were in it. Yeah, but so we shot that on digital video, like original DV, the little cassettes, and it was so cheap next to film, and we shot with sometimes 7 cameras at the same time, and we broke the record for setups at Fox Studio, just because like usually one setup takes like 30 to 40 minutes, and we would do
Yeah.
like 7 setups in 10 minutes. So which is it sounds kind of good, but it was also not good, because they look terrible. But
Oh no.
I mean, it was a look, right? It was like we were embracing that look. But when we were editing it, we had all this footage, right? And when you do a pilot, you have, I think it's 10 days to cut the pilot, before they consider it for the upfronts. It's like this
Mhm.
total race. And my editor, Michael Ross, who cut Wrong Turn too, he was cutting, and I was like, Michael, use the close up, use the close up here. And he was like, there is no close up. I was like, there is a close up. I know there is. I shot it. And he searched around, and after about 15 minutes, he was like, oh, there is a close up. And I was like, Michael, did you look at the footage we shot? Because an editor, you're supposed to look at the footage that you have to edit with. And he said, Rob, no one will ever look at all of the footage you shot.
Yeah, that is absolutely unreal.
This is a TV pilot. You filmed 3 years worth of footage.
Yeah, but that's part of the problem with it's not a problem. That's one of the challenges of digital video is I was talking to this old focus puller, the guys that keep the men and women that keep the image sharp. And I asked him how it was different between digital and film. And he said, when there was film, I used to get breaks, like 10 minutes, and they changed the magazine,
Yeah.
and he would get a break, and he doesn't get a break now. Like there's 12 hours, 30 minutes for lunch. And otherwise he has to be on the wheel because someone might be like, roll on that, shoot that. And a lot of times they just keep the camera rolling like for an hour,
Wow.
Yeah, so it's different. It's not better or worse. It's just different, and it takes getting used to.
Yeah,
that's cool. Was it exciting to get to work with both, like to be working in that moment of transition, or was it frustrating? Or
oh, that's really interesting. There was a really odd thing that happened. Is I made this movie Alphabet Killer, and it was when, I can't remember, maybe 2007 or something like that. But it was right when the budgets were like, it will cost you slightly more to shoot on film, And we were shooting in New York State had this tax incentive where if you shot in Rochester, New York, you got like a bigger incentive. And our movie was set in Rochester, like by coincidence. So they had a shoot in Rochester, it was based on a true story of the Alphabet Killer, the ABC killer. But so we were shooting at Kodak, at the Kodak film factories, and they were running the budgets, and they were like, Rob, you have to shoot on digital, And I was like, wow, really? We're literally, our production office is at what were now closed Kodak offices. And Kodak was like taking us to lunch and things like that, where they're like, yeah, you're going to shoot your movie on our film because you're in Rochester. And
you're like, no.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, so like, it hurts my stomach now thinking about it. I was like, oh. And you know what? There were a lot of closed factory buildings from Kodak, and a bunch of them had like bullet holes in the windows because so many people had been fired from Kodak, and there was like a lot of anger about like, an entire class of people collapsed with the end of film. But so just a little ways before shooting, they were like, hey, what cameras do you like? We're going to shoot on film. And I was like, what? We're going to shoot on film? And they were like, the Kodak rep said that they couldn't bear a movie shoot in Rochester on digital video. Like they got us a deal so we could shoot film, But
wow.
So I was like, that was like right at the transition. Like that was like the super painful, it like literally it's making me feel bad right now thinking about it. Like that part of the transition was not good, that part of the transition was not good.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds intense.
Right. Yeah. But it does sound like you're a guy who like embraces new technology though as it comes up. So you're right on the forefront. I mean, you're already playing around with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I'm in a room that's like 200 years old. I'm not always embracing technology, but I have good friends that are really focused on technology. Like actually the music video director, Adam Tote, is a good buddy of mine. And he just showed me the other day, he's making a whole short film with AI, Um,
Wow.
yeah, and it's a little cheesy. I mean, hopefully he won't watch this, but yeah, it's fumbly to use, but it will be really good to use. And again, what it does is it makes like very cliche shots, you know. It will
Mhm.
like give you the shot of the front of the car coming around and then going into the driver's face, you know. Like anything that seems like a cool shot, it like is like, oh, this is a shot that people admire. I will reproduce this for nothing, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily provide, it doesn't provide performance. Like the performance is, at least that I've seen, is not good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not doing anything innovative, right?
Very
It's
stilted.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And maybe it will eventually, but not yet, thankfully, you know, knock on wood.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean, they're talking about using, having AI psychotherapists, right? And that like
Hmm.
people are saying that they benefit from it. So, and
Wow.
that's sort of terrifying to me, you know.
Yeah.
I think connection between humans is, it feels like it's an essential part of mental health, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of the stomach upset, like that immediately made my stomach go like, oh no, that doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super weird because I've even, I mean, I've been to a psychologist and stuff like that
Mhm.
before. And, I've had people ask me, what's some advice you would, and I would say, find you a professional. And depending on the problem, if you're a male, find a male
Depending on
psychologist.
the problem. Yeah.
And, if you're a female, find, because they're the only ones who live it, they can understand, so it's like you're handing these problems to a computer.
How are they supposed to understand you?
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of psychotherapy. I think it's like a great thing. And I hear you that, you know, men in general should have a male psychologist. But I'll tell you that I know a thing for me personally is, my mom was busy a lot when I was a kid. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like a latchkey kid, you know. And my dad, I didn't live with my dad most of the time. I lived with my mom, and she wasn't around, you know. And I know that to this day, I like really crave approval from women. And
Mm,
Right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's helpful for me to talk to a female psychotherapist, you know, and kind of work that out that way. So it's a little, I think it's a little more nuanced. And I think in general, like, you know, you're a guy, have a male psychologist, but I think it's I think there are different things that happen.
Yeah. It depends on what you need, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
especially if you're going to do stuff in horror or anything psychological, like really digging into your own history is really valuable, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You can like generate those emotions and then feed those to your script or into your film and,
Hmm.
share those with the world. That's kind of what we were talking about yesterday with we were watching some screenwriters and they were discussing AI and stuff like that and that was one guy's point actually was that the great thing about him writing his script is that he gets to put himself into it and then share that intimate connection with the audience and he thinks that's invaluable. So he didn't personally want to utilize the AI, but his buddy did and his buddy had his own reasons for using AI, and those were very valid too. So it's interesting to get different viewpoints on it and
Yeah.
stuff as well.
But I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
horror. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you go. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think horror, I think specifically, can be extremely cathartic, both to write and to watch. Is there any reason like you chose horror specifically? You've done a lot of work in horror and
Yeah,
in
yeah.
true crime.
You know, yeah, I'm going to confess something here, which is that I pretty much every night I put on YouTube. It used to be just interrogations, like that, no cinematic value at all, like cameras in the corner of a room in a, you know, police station.
Hmm.
Um, but to fall asleep, I listen to and sometimes watch cheap true crime content on YouTube. And
We understand.
Yes, we do.
This is a safe space for that here, Rob.
I was kind of relieved when I found one on YouTube that said 6 hours of true crime to fall asleep to. Like, I was like, oh, good, other people do this.
You're not alone. Yeah.
But yeah, I started out. I made sort of indie. I made indie films, like New York indie films, and then and I worked in that world a bunch. And then but I was really excited about getting to make horror, you know, and why did I do it? I don't know about everybody, but I think a lot of my life I've been in fear. Like, even when I was a little kid, I was in fear, you know, like a lot of people. When I was a kid, I was sexually assaulted, and you know, even when I was really young, like I tell people this sometimes. I started lying, you know, when I was super young. Like, I know it was before I was 5, because when I was 5, I was waiting. I lived on a farm in Western Pennsylvania, and there was a carpool to go to kindergarten. And I had, there was just a hole in the ground, and a branch had fallen. And I took the branch and stuck it in the hole. So there was just this branch sticking out of the ground, you know, it looked really odd. And when the car came, the dad looked at it and was like kind of curious, and he said, is that thing rooted? And you know, rooted meaning what, a tree growing in the ground. And I was getting ready to say, yes, my father planted it, you know, because I would lie about everything. And and I was like, you know, I think I'm going to tell the truth this time and see how that feels. And I was like, no, sir, it's just something I stuck on the ground. And he was like, huh. He just kept driving. And I was in the car, and I was thinking about how it felt to tell the truth. And I was like, well, it's okay, but not really very interesting.
It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be, but actually it's not very fun. Right?
yeah, there's no upside to it. And then when I was 7 turning 8, we moved to New York, and I started shoplifting, you know, which I learned recently kids do. They're trying to steal love. Like, when they, like little kids, when they steal things, it's like they're trying to get like a good feeling, a satisfaction. And it was cool because it, you know, I would steal candy or toys or things like that, and it impressed other kids, like my daring, and it there was accomplishment to it, you know. But I did that, so I was lying. So I was already in a place where I was separate from other people and might get caught. And then I moved from that to stealing, you know, which is like, when you're stealing, you're in fear like all the time, right? Because you're doing something that you're going to be punished for if you get caught. And then, you know, when I was 13, I started taking drugs, you know, which is just a whole world of fear. Yeah. And so I think I just always had, like a sense of the world being dangerous and feeling fear in it. And so it was natural to want to tell stories that had that in them, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's, you know, I think especially when you're young and afraid, right? It's hard to even know exactly what you're afraid of, let alone be able to express it. And I feel like horror takes that kind of amorphous, out there fear and puts a face on it and puts it in front of you so you can look at it and say, that's what I'm afraid of. You know, I think there's a lot of catharsis in that, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think there's different types of horror films too. There's ones that are apocalyptic, where they're horrific and there's no out. at the end, you know. And then there are some where people overcome, you know. And those ones you get to feel, you get to be in fear with the storyteller, and then you get to escape it, you know, and feel relief from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really good for a lot of people. It's something a lot of people crave, you know. I certainly crave that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, us too. I mean, yeah, that it kind of blows her mind because I can do like the same thing you do. You know, I can turn on very screamy content. You know, we're talking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I will just lay there and sleep like a baby to it.
Yeah.
And
I can't do that.
yeah.
I can watch some true crime before bed, but falling asleep to, yeah, especially anything that has a lot of screaming, I can't do it.
I started with I've started not to be able to deal with stuff that has small children getting hurt. Like that is I mean, that movie Alphabet Killer is about that, you know. Like there was a time when I could deal with that, but I can't really deal with it anymore. Which is weird to feel yourself change, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do the small children getting hurt either. We tried to watch Dr. Sleep. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a scene where a young boy is basically being tortured, and we shut it off. I couldn't do it.
She couldn't
I couldn't
do
do it. So I understand that.
yeah, and it just pretty much just for you anyway, because at first you covered your eyes and you couldn't even take the sound.
I couldn't.
Like,
It's a very like lengthy scene, and he wouldn't stop screaming, so I couldn't. Yeah, so even not watching, I couldn't take the sound of it. So we turned it off. Yeah, so I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some beauty in horror too. Just that going not visually. I mean, there's some things that are visually beautiful, but the going through that process of facing an enormous amount of fear and then you know, overcoming it is kind of beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's heroic, right? It's a classic heroic act, I think, for a person, and so that's a very desirable thing, at least for me, to see someone make it through that process, survive that process.
Absolutely.
yeah, the perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if there, you know, there's more than just like accident. Sometimes every once in a while you come across a horror film and the survival is almost accidental. It's like accidental survival, but there's a lot of really great heroic characters who outsmart the big evil or you know.
Or they're just altruistic, make a great sacrifice.
Yeah, that too. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I was just, like, as you're saying that, I was thinking about Jaws, you know, Roy Scheider in Jaws, and this guy from the city who like hates the sea, and
Right, he's so afraid of water.
yeah, and he you know, he makes it out is pretty great.
Yeah,
or at least he man, I'm spacing now. He shoots the canister that is in Jaws, and Jaws explodes, and he survives. Right, that is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them two just swimming away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They had to like paddle their way on like a floating like canister. Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's I mean, structurally it's just really great. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like The Exorcist. You know, you have Father Merrin who shows up to save the little girl. He passes. Then Karras, you know, comes back into the room, mentally weak at this point, exhausted, and can't do what Merrin does. He doesn't have that finesse, the religious, whatever you would call it. Faith. He doesn't have the faith. So then he takes on the demon in his own way. Just very two different altruistic approaches. That movie gets me every time, man. I'll cry at the end of The Exorcist. It's weird how horror can do that.
Well, it is. It's that ultimate moment of self-sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that about The Exorcist, because I'll look at it differently. I honestly, to this day, uh, I'm terrified of that movie, and and I used to, like, I used to run when I was, in college, and I would run at night by myself. And the way that I would keep running was I would think of the girl, Linda Blair, as a demon chasing after me.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Yeah, I could see that.
yeah, man. There's that great imagination at work because I used to do the same thing. Like I would picture something chasing me.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. When we're talking about being little kids, for a bunch of years, for some reason, I was terrified of vampires, and I would not be able to fall asleep at night, and I would hold like a blanket over my neck, and I would eventually just like pass out like in my bed with my blanket held over my neck because I was hoping to prevent.
Don't get me.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that completely.
yeah. Here's a question for both of you because I've always been curious about this. So in horror movies, like the terrified kid that's in bed, they always put the blanket up over their face and hide under the blanket. And to me, when I was a kid, I was like, there's no way in hell. If something's in here, I want to see it come, and I don't want to lose visual on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you guys like to pull the blanket all the way up, people, or do you leave it down and just peek around the room all scared?
Well, I was lucky. I shared a room with my sister growing up. So if I ever got scared, I was always immediately, Michelle, 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 Michelle. I never went through any of that alone.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I shared a room with my brother, but he was no help. So, but I think it depends on your stress response, right? Because there's fight, freeze. What is it? Fight, freeze, fawn, and there's 4 different ones. There used to be 3.
Fight,
Fight,
flight,
freeze,
freeze.
or fawn.
Or
There's
fawn.
actually they talk about fawn now too.
Yeah.
But if you have a freeze response, then putting the blanket over your head works, because you can just put the blanket over your head and freeze, and hopefully.
I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm not here. You don't see me.
Yeah, yeah. But I suppose if you have a fight response, you're trying to gear up to defend yourself, so then you want to see it coming.
It's true. That makes sense.
Oh, man. All right, Rob, I'm ready for some wrong turn. If you are, buddy,
That's the way.
All right, man. Would you like to give a brief little summary of what the film is about? I mean, hell, you created it.
There was a point where in development on that movie where a new studio came on, Summit, and they were like, hey, you still have your job, but you have to convince the owner of Summit to let you have your job. And
Oh,
and his name, the owner at the time, was Francois. I can't remember his name. He was like a very slick Frenchman who mostly made their money selling films at Cannes and things like that.
Okay.
And, I think the first time I met him, he had just gotten like a brand new BMW sports car, and we walked out to the parking lot to admire it. And I have no idea like about anything about cars at all. I had like a 1989 Volvo station wagon at the time. But we had a meeting, and I had to say what wrong turn was, and I said it's a really simple horror film with a body count and a couple of survivors, and if you make it right, it's like a piece of sashimi. So, super simple, but perfect, and a pleasure to eat. And that's what we have to do, is make this thing that is super simple, but perfect. And he didn't fire me. So,
He's like, I will eat that sashimi. And
yeah. Yeah.
I'll say you nailed it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
I mean, it really is like just a great, simple concept with an interesting, I guess, monster, so to speak, or monsters,
Monsters,
and, really, really likable survivors, so.
Yeah, they're just your average people who are,
Yeah, right. Very
trying to get over a
relatable.
breakup, and they want to take their friend out, into the wilderness, kind of readjust, reacclimate,
Right. To this part of America that most Americans are afraid of. So
yeah, it's funny. I mean, you guys know this. I lived in that land, and yeah, I lived in it. Like, I lived on a 52-acre farm surrounded by woods, and when I was very little, and it was scary. Like, it felt like it had a life of its own, And I remember even just being a kid, and we would be walking, in the wilderness around the house, and it would start to get dark, and no one would want to be the last person in line. Like, just without having any thought about, like, what, there was no wrong turn at that point. There wasn't like we didn't know stories about people getting killed. It just did not feel safe to be the last person in line in the wilderness,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from California, and moving to Appalachia, there's a saying that I have learned, which is, if you are in the woods here and you hear something, no, you didn't.
If you hear something, no, you didn't.
Yeah. That whatever.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Don't acknowledge it. Don't go looking for it. If you hear something, no, you didn't. Just keep, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the people here are like, yeah, no, there's scary stuff in those woods. Like, don't go looking for the scary stuff in the woods. Right? I think there are large swaths of the Appalachian range that have not been explored. Like, people don't know.
It's just a blank spot on the map.
Yeah.
Just
what's deep in these woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a perfect setting for a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I live at the edge of the wilderness in Italy now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so different than that. Like, I'm on a farm, I have 200 olive trees, but there's like, there are bear and wolves and these things, chingales, they're wild boar, that can eat a human body.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a tractor, and I drive through the orchards, and the boar come at night, and they dig holes, and like, so sometimes the tractor will like go over a bump, and I'll be like, damn chingali,
I'm waiting for a really good
Chingali
horror
movie.
film in the Italian countryside. I'm ready for it.
Dude, you'd be surprised because, we have wild boar out here too, and people will hunt them. My cousin is one of them, and he prides himself on, like, he will bow hunt them to make it even more dangerous, as if it needs that. And he'll tell you, man, he's like, you better be on it because they will mess you up.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they have tusks.
I've been thinking of making a platform to bow hunt chingali from, but I haven't done it yet. And it's
A platform sounds like the right way to do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little better, because they can charge you. You're supposed to carry a pistol with you when you're hunting them. But I've started another way that I've gotten soft is that I'm feeling a lot more concern for animals, and I have friends that have a big pig, and the pig really likes it when I scratch his back, and it's making it really hard to consider hunting boar.
It's understandable.
Right?
Yeah. We like watching little pig videos too.
Oh my God, we do, dude. You
When
could,
people have the like little tiny ones and their pets in the house. Yeah. So we understand.
I've been having a problem with that lately. Is I watch a lot of animal videos, and I've started to be like some of them are AI, and that's like just like throwing up. I like detest it. But then some of them people are doing stuff like that idea of influencer really horrifies me, and some of them they're people getting animals to do cute things, but it's not because they love the animal so much as that they want to get likes.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And most of those pigs, they don't stay small, they get big, and then they have to get rid of them. And so so when people have like their pet pig, and they make videos with it, like eventually after a few years that pig will get too big and they'll dump it. They probably don't make videos of them dumping the pig.
No, that's horrible.
No,
I'll be
but
skipping those from now on. I will not support. I will not support this.
yeah, that happens all the time though, man. Like the people who want to have those giant snakes, the pythons or what, and they boom, gone once they, mature, and alligators.
Right.
I mean, hell, there was a reason that was like an urban legend for a long time. All these people
The
who get them and
alligators in the
flush them.
sewers.
Yeah. I mean, people really would though. They get them and then just set them free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
I had a really sad thing happen recently. There's a type of dog here, Maramano. It's I sort of want you guys to Google it. It's also called an Abruzzo Shepherd.
Okay.
It's like a giant white dog. They're used for protecting farms from wolves and bears. I guess literally what they're for, but they're massive. And there was one that someone had it locked up in a horse stable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He Googled it. He
Yeah,
wanted to
I
show
totally
me.
did, yeah.
They're beautiful.
They're
Oh
beautiful,
my
right?
gosh. Yeah.
They're giant though. They can kill my friend that has the pig. He has like 5 of them, and they went after a pack of wolves. And I came over the next day, and one of them, the boy Massimo, had blood all over his fur, and his ear had gotten bit. Like they like actually fight wolves, And
Wow.
so there was this one it was locked up in someone's just a little horse stable, like I don't know, like 6 feet by 10 feet. And I said I wanted to take it, but I needed to figure out how I would deal with it, and it was 18 months old, and it takes them about 3 years to mature. And he was like he weighed, I want to say 130 pounds, something like that. And he was like a puppy, and he was just like a big goofball, and he was not trained. Like he was not trained at all. And he was a real sweetheart, but he like someone came over to buy some olive oil in their car, and he went over to the car, and the guy had his window open. He just put his head in the car and put his mouth around the guy's arm, and he didn't bite down. He just held it there. And I was like, no, and then he like came back over to me, but he thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I asked this guy who like knows that type of dog, like about that behavior, and I was like, why would he do that? And he said, because he didn't have hands. Like he wasn't like he shouldn't do that, or he wasn't like, he was just like, if he had hands, he would have held him for you. But
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That one, I realized that I couldn't keep him without building a paddock, a big fenced in area. And
Yeah.
when I was halfway through building it, the crazy person who had the dog told me they had euthanized it. Just like they didn't call me first, they didn't do anything. They just like euthanized the dog. It like really broke my heart.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know why I told you that. It's been on my mind. It was like a terrible thing.
Oh, that would break my heart.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I feel like a kinship with Rob now. It's like, oh my God, I have all these same damn stories. The wild boar, the dogs that's unfairly euthanized. Yeah. Like, oh my God.
That dog would do this funny thing at night is he would come and get on my bed and he would like stand over me and then he would like as slowly as he could lower himself down on top of me. Like like he was aware of how much he weighed, but he
We're gonna be real gentle about this, but I'm your blanket. I'm keeping you safe,
so
man. Aww. Yeah. All right, the Chingale movie needs a good boy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the dog's got to save the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that moment in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is so great, right? When the dog attacks.
Yeah.
Anytime a dog is the hero of the story, I'm happy, right?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's a real cheer, a whole audience cheering moment,
Oh yeah, like I still love White Fang and The Call of the Wild and all. Oh man. But I had that traumatic childhood, watching Old Yeller over and over.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's like the greatest horror film of all time, and it's not even a horror film.
But he was such a good boy.
Right?
I've been trying to decide if I should watch Old Yeller again. Have you guys watched it in the last 15 years?
No, I haven't watched it as an adult. But I've been feeling the same way. I need to watch that movie now.
Yeah, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
Watch it.
So let me ask you this, Rob. So people expect us West Virginians to hate Wrong Turn. They're like, oh, stereotypes. Oh, that's so gross. How could that? It's like, dude, we freaking love that movie. We love the franchise. We embrace that, man. But I gotta ask, did you get any backlash like that from creating it?
Yes. Yes. Actually, the governor of West Virginia at the time said that he was furious about Wrong Turn and that it was, not an accurate depiction.
Oh, that son of a bitch. We loved it. I'm speaking for the people here because I grew up in the thick of it, man. We're in like a town with like 50 people max. We love, so I'm in the sticks. We love it. Like we really do. We embrace it. You're not too far off with some of the stuff either. I mean, there is some incest out here. No, we don't turn into like mutants, but hell, that's the fun part.
Don't say we either. But
not we. I mean, with the West Virginians, some subsets.
Yeah, we do know there are parts of this place that no one comes in and out of.
Yeah. Honestly, I live near Rome. I was in Rome for the whole month of April. I was living in Rome, and people will complain about Rome, Italy, and talk about how terrible it is, and I'll be like, "You're right, and you should never come here again." And,
that's how we feel about people who complain about West Virginia. Yeah, it's a terrible place.
Yeah,
don't come back.
Definitely a terrible place. Definitely don't come.
Very scary. Don't come back here.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like some of the people who complain about those stereotypes are also some of the people who like perpetuate them. Because I worked on a film. You know what I'm saying? Like I worked on a film out here, and originally 90% of the crew was supposed to be West Virginians. That did not happen. It turned out 90% were Californians or flown in from other, big filmmaking areas, Atlanta, Cali, stuff like that. And then 10% of the crew was made up of West Virginians. Well, we had one woman who I was told was unwilling to come out because I guess she was like a progressive lesbian. I don't know how else to say it. But
So she was afraid to come out here.
she said that she was afraid to come out here because she might be persecuted or something. I'm like, dude, we are the loveliest people of all time. Now, that's somebody who would preach against stereotypes and then
Yeah, just made an assumption
like, that
about what it would
prevented
be
you-
like out here. Yeah.
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 When the people out here are super weird, so they embrace all kinds of weirdness.
yeah, right.
You know, it's funny. I lived in Vermont for a while, and I think it's similar to West Virginia in this way, in that once I've been there for a while, you know, there's a lot of weird people in Vermont. And I was talking to this old Vermonter, and he said, you know, people think all the weird people came to Vermont in the 1960s, but, you know, the hippies and whatnot. But Vermont has been weird for like 350 years. And if you think about it, it's all hilly and there's almost no farmland. Like people moved here and have their little tiny farms because they didn't want anyone to bother them. Like it was,
It's
it
those
was
people.
more important for them to be left alone.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
That's
You're right. That's just like here.
yes.
Yeah. As I was thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, it's the same thing. Yeah. I was trying to tell this friend of mine, like where I live in a gorge. Like there's a plateau. My farm's on a plateau in like a gorge, you know, and like no one has any reason to come here. Like, and you know, if someone does come here, like on one end of the gorge, like a dog will bark and it'll like run all the way up the gorge and be like, oh, there's someone coming. They'll be here in 10 minutes, you know? Southwestern Pennsylvania and West Virginia are like that, where it's all these like little gorges and hollows, you know, and there just isn't like a lot of space to have big, like giant productions and giant farms and whatnot.
No.
No, not at all.
Set up for that.
No, absolutely. And I just heard yesterday that the estimate is that 70% of West Virginia is covered in trees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There's just people tucked into them right
Yeah.
here and there. And that's it.
We're like an Alabama tick, baby. We're just dug in. Well, let me ask you this, Rob. So, man, I do, 10 things you didn't know type of videos, and I did do one on Wrong Turn. So I got to ask you, what's something about the film that others may not know?
Boy. Something about the film that others may not know. Trying to think.
Or like a funny moment on set, or
Something that got deleted. Something that could have,
something you wanted in the film and the studio said no.
I think, like a thing, unfortunately, is that like at one point they were like, and I think they actually released like an unrated version of Wrong Turn, but it has nothing in it that isn't in the original, because we used all the scenes that, all the scenes of gore are in the movie. That was like why, like, Fox didn't want to, when Wrong Turn came out, Fox 20th Century Fox didn't want to put their logo on it because there was an anti-violence campaign going on in the U.S. And like Wrong Turn, for what it's worth, like it has beheadings and whatnot in it. But I'm trying to think if there's anything on set. Well, I'll just say this. I'll say this, but I'm not going to say any names. A thing that was disappointing to me, because I figured out ahead of time that it would make my life harder, is that two of the stars slept with each other. That's something that has never been said before.
Oh my God.
Whoops.
They were getting it in, man. All that hillbilly inbreeding just really greased the gears,
Hey, it was a really intense atmosphere. They're young, attractive people. Like,
I guess it's not surprising, but it hasn't been. It has never been said before. This stuff.
That's great.
That's badass, dude. Is there anything in retrospect that you wish you would have done differently with Wrong Turn?
it's funny because we were talking a lot about fear and personal fear, and like now I'm old and I have enough money that I can like goof off on a farm, and if someone has a movie, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But for almost my whole career, I was in fear. Like, will I get another job? When will it happen? Am I gonna is this movie gonna fail? And I literally, like, every day of that production was afraid that it wasn't going to succeed. Like, and there was no reason for me to feel that way. It was just, my brain being crazy. But I was in fear every day.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, that's such a hard, like, I know that feeling, and it's such a hard way to work, right? Because you're working hard and having to be afraid that this isn't going to go well, like, the whole time.
Oh.
That's heavy. Absolutely.
Yeah. There were things that, I mean, the place that I would feel safe was when I was on set and like very engaged in the process of making the moment work, with the actor or with the cinematographer or with the art department. Like, that was the place that I felt safe. And actually, to be honest, and this is not about Wrong Turn, except ancillarily, is the hardest and most frightening thing in my life was getting divorced. Like I was divorced, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years ago, and it was terrifying and awful. And I was doing some true crime TV shows then, and I got on set and I sat in my chair by the monitor and I had my coffee and I was completely safe. I was like, I feel safe and at home. And it was like amazing to be like, oh my God, this is my home,
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a massive relief.
Yeah.
As true crime buffs, I should mention that we have seen accidentally your episodes of Your Worst Nightmare.
Oh, oh, great.
Oddly enough, just recently we found the show, we were watching it, and suddenly he's like, directed by Rob Schmidt.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, while watching that show, we binged the entire series because we were like, holy crap, dude, these reenactments and stuff, you get some true crime that's really kind of cheesy and sloppy. I mean, a YouTuber could do it, no offense to myself. But these reenactments and stuff, I mean, it was kind of like watching your own little like short films and stuff. Actual directors were making these. So we fell in love with it.
We did. Yeah, some of the villains, we kept saying, villains with, I guess that's what you call them. Some of the villains were so well acted. We're like, these guys are terrifying. Like these.
Yeah.
It was a really, really great true crime show.
Yeah, they're really fun. They're really fun to make. And they're a thing that is nice about those is they give you, like, you don't get to fix things. You have to move super fast. And it makes you realize you can make something that is watchable even if you have to move super fast. You learn to not be as precious, which is cool. But it's nice to hear that it resonated. A lot of times I care more about the villains than the victims, because they're more interesting and more nuanced, I think. There was one of those, I can't even remember what it was called, but the victim, she has to dig her own grave, and they're like, if you tell it, unless you promise not to tell. Did you see this one?
Yes.
Okay, well, here's the thing about that, and I was really, like, when we were prepping that, I was like, I think she's autistic. I think this girl's autistic. And they were like, no, she isn't. And I was like, well, a lot of the behavior in the script is, the rigid black and white, and I have to tell. It's the behavior of someone who's autistic. And then, like, we were a day into shooting and the family was there and they were like, she was autistic, but we didn't want that to be on the show.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually like sad now thinking about it,
Yeah, but that's so insightful that you were able to catch that, and it. Yeah. Wow. I mean, those are the elements that made that show so good, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody cared.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
poor kid, right? Like just not being able to say, to lie. She was not able to lie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Crime and Punishment in Suburbia was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance, and Wrong Turn went on to create an entire horror franchise that, hey, I personally love. But what is the filmmaking accomplishment that you are most proud of?
Honestly, I'm just a total whore, and like whatever I make, whatever I make, I really like. Like I get really into it. And I really like. I made a Lifetime movie called Twisted Tenant, and and I really like that movie. It's probably terrible, but I really like it. And
I love
the
that.
movie, yeah, and the movie that people around the world like a lot, like speak to me warmly about, is Wrong Turn, and that has meant a lot to me. Like to get to be in China and have people tell me how Wrong Turn was important to them. Someone on a plane recently told me in Iran they had their uncle's laptop and there was only one movie on it. The movie was Wrong Turn, so they watched it. They watched it hundreds of times. Like,
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. And that's why, hey, you are known officially as a master of horror. I mean, I guess that was bestowed upon you by Mick Garris.
yeah. It's a funny thing. It's a good thing. Yeah, it's nice. Okay. Any last shocking questions or?
Nothing shocking, but we would like to know, do you have any upcoming projects we can all be looking out for?
Oh, I am superstitious, and I'm afraid if I mention anything, it will not get made. So
Okay. We'll just
I'm always
all
trying to get
keep
something
our
made.
eyes out for you.
Okay.
And if we want to do that, or the horror fam wants to do that, man, how can they keep up to date with all the latest Rob Schmidt happenings?
Instagram, Rob Schmidt Film, I guess would be it. I'm not a big poster of stuff, but yeah, that's about it. Instagram, Rob Schmidt Film. Well, I appreciate y'all, and if you have any more questions, if you want to talk again, just reach out. It's been really fun.
Great. This
Absolutely.
was wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, I have to be honest. We had a shit ton of questions lined up. So if you're serious, we will get you back on here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy to do another one. We'll do another one.
That's
Great.
awesome, man. Thank you
so
so much, dude. I mean, it's an honor. It really is. Got the West Virginia going. I should have busted out the pepperoni roll and Mountain Dew.
You guys are really sweet. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
sir.
much, Rob.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
How do let's see, I'm leaving the studio. Bye.
Bye, brother. All right, horror fam. Did you enjoy that or what, Anna? Rob was,
did.
oh my God, I'm so stoked.
I know, me too. I'm almost like giddy. Like I just made a new best friend. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. I mean, we have really hit it off. We had Stephen Lamort and Amy Schumacher. We just did a podcast. I know it's not even out yet. We're kind of spoiling something here, but from Screamboat, and they were great. Mm-hmm. And then we have Rob Schmidt from Wrong Turn, and I'm just...
Well, and it's funny because I was a little more nervous about this one. You know what I mean? I was nervous.
Yeah, so was I. I'm going to be honest.
Immediately put us at ease.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
That was
fantastic.
you know what? I hope this doesn't embarrass him. That laugh of his is so infectious.
I know.
He is such... Don't take this term the wrong way, Rob, but dude, you are such a jolly guy.
Yeah.
I love that. That's like a heartwarming, like, I feel like, if you were at like a Christmas party and you walk in and you hear Rob's laughing in the other room.
Right. Like,
Yeah, man.
That's where I'm headed. That's the part of the party
Rob!
I want to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really
all
good.
while having like really deep, insightful conversations. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, he
That mix is
said some
beautiful.
stuff that was very brave. Number one, you know, he didn't have to do that, but he did that on his own accord. And that's very brave, very vulnerable. I really appreciate that. You know, he was willing. And I mean, he told us numerous times this will probably be edited out throughout the interview portion. But I'll just go ahead and let the horror fam know there were numerous times where he stopped the podcast because he's working on a schedule. You know, we did have a time limit for this one, but he would stop and be like, guys, if you have anything shocking to ask me, you are more than welcome to do it. I want you to do it. Let's get it out there, baby. You know, and of course, you know, him being willing to come back, and you know, that's maybe we'll think up some good stuff to get him to spill his guts on. You know what I'm saying? Some shockumentary footage for good old Rob. But man, that, you know, and you know, I also think this was in perfect alignment with our lives at this point, because we really did just organically watch those true crime episodes that he happened to direct. I believe 6 of those.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Yeah.
When we sat down to watch the show, it was just the show looked good.
Yeah,
and
we
it
love
was.
the show.
I don't think his episodes came up until, you know, a couple of seasons in.
It
right?
may have been the last season.
And yeah, so we were just sitting there enjoying our show, and suddenly directed by Rob Schmidt. We're like, yes.
And how many people notice that? Because a lot of the time, either you skip through the intro credits, or you have your face in a plate while this is going on. So, and we just happen to notice directed by Rob Schmidt. That's like,
don't be modest. Steven always notices those things.
Okay, that's true. But yeah, he is such a lovely guest, man.
Yeah.
You know, so horror fam, this episode will come out. You will have listened to it, I'm sure, by the next time we have him on the show, because I do want to get him back on.
Absolutely.
And he's willing to do it.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions that you would like to ask him, leave a comment, whether you're watching this on YouTube, whether you're watching this on Spotify or listening to it on Spotify. Spotify now has comments, and they have what's called, they just actually introduced this feature. It's called comment threads. So now I can go in and respond to comments, and people can write back.
Oh, exciting.
Very interesting. And of course, Apple Podcasts, you know, leave a comment, leave a review with your question. I mean, we will get that to him.
And of course, you can always reach us at contact@talkhorror.com.
Yeah. And no matter where you're listening to this, I also include a link tree in the podcast description or in the bio. Click on that and you will get all of the Talk Horror goodies, the links to everything, so you can stay connected with us. And I really do appreciate that. We have almost hit double-digit 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. I would love to see that. I'd love to see that on Spotify as well. We're almost there, Anna.
And if you want to keep up with us week to week, you can sign up for our newsletter. Also in the link tree.
There you go, baby. We're making dreams come true over here on the Talk Horror podcast. And you know what? Next time, you know what, horror fam, if you're good, next time maybe I'll come on here loaded with a Mountain Dew and pepperoni roll and give Rob the credit that he deserves. You know what I'm saying? Just come on here ready to go, baby.
Like a true West Virginian.
That's right. That is right. But all right, horror fam, I would sincerely like to thank every single one of you for listening to the show or watching, whichever platform you're on. We are on our way to the 20 episode threshold, and then, you know, we're going to keep going, and it's with your support that helps this train keep chugging along, baby. The Talk Horror train, Anna. That's right.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. Choo choo, motherfuckers.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, my friends, look horror,
Listen horror.
talk horror. We love every single one of you. Have a good night. Mwah.